I never had a room.
No! Damien! Hey Internet, it's Jessica and welcome back to Seduce Me to the Demon War, Damien's Route. And in the last episode, we finally got to see a little bit of our nightmare. And it seems like there are two versions of the nightmare. And one of them seems to be where Damien gets his demon powers back. It kind of switches and then shows Damien sacrificing himself in order to save us. And Diana carries us away. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I feel like I said in the beginning, I feel like Damien's probably going to have the saddest ending. Hopefully I don't get that one, but we'll see. Soon, days went by, passing forward in almost hyperdrive until a couple of days before the wedding. Damien and I worked hard after our rest day to make everything perfect. We were positive that nothing would go wrong. Oh god. The boys picked him up, leaving me alone to get into my wedding dress and wait for the limo to drive me to the wedding hall. I was so nervous that I needed to prep everything on my own without interruption. I got into my dress, finishing getting ready, and wound up staring at myself in the mirror in awe. I was in my dream wedding gown, looking as if I've always imagined. I looked like getting married. The one thing that made it special was who I was marrying. I stopped myself. Damien wasn't a demon. He was human.
Aren't you so proud of yourself?
What? Huh? I look around, suddenly hearing Diana's voice in the air. Just hearing her ask that one question filled the air with dark and menacing tension. However, it was impossible. How was she here? Whoa, what? That's weird. Diana, where are you?
You didn't answer my question.
Why should I? Show yourself. Whoa. As I looked at the mirror, I gasped. And instead of my reflection, I saw a dark shadow with gold eyes stare at me. I would know those cruel eyes anywhere. Diana.
How does it feel to be inches away from marrying the man of your dreams?
This is very interesting. It's the Demon Lord, right? Acting as Diana? Why should I tell you anything? Why are you here?
A frisky bridezilla, aren't you?
Answer me!
Tell me first, how do you feel now that Damien's no longer who he was?
What?
Remember, he was born a demon. And you took that away from him. Well, I did anyway. At your request, of course.
He wanted to be human. This was insane. Why was I arguing with her when she was just a shadow in the mirror? Diana let out a dark laugh.
You don't even know who you're marrying, do you? Damien, the human who was a demon. What's next? Will he demand to be a woman instead? He could easily be one. Oh, wait. He can't because he no longer has the ability to do so himself.
I don't like this because Diana's not a bitch! Come on! Why do you care? He can do what he wants.
But do you even know what he wants? I want to go to the human world. I want to be human. Tell me, can you give him everything he wants? I want my mother back. I want to forget that I was ever a demon. I want to forget I was even born.
What the fuck? Stop it! I couldn't take it any longer. I grabbed the lamp on my nightstand and lifted it, ready to smash the mirror into pieces. However, as I looked back at the mirror, it showed only my reflection. Diana was gone.
I knew it. I knew it.
Okay, so we're gonna get sucked into the demon world. Let's go over there. Damien! I swerved around Diana and rushed to Damien, meeting him halfway and wrapping my arms around him tightly.
I'm so glad you're safe.
I took his scent, his warmth. He was here, in my arms, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. Damien seemed to feel the same as he wrapped his arms around my form and buried his face in my shoulder. Let's... Ooh, simply enjoy the moment, give him a squeeze. I'm gonna squeeze him, I don't care. I tightened my hold on Damien, silently expressing my love and happiness at seeing and feeling him again. He squeezed back lovingly, peppering my neck with kisses. As Damien and I had our moment, his brother stepped up near us, almost in a protective circle. Sam, however, moved towards Diana, glaring hard. Oh god, here we go.
You've got 10 seconds to explain why she's here, bitch.
I'm going to ignore that insult for the sake of the bride. However, I wasn't the one who brought her here.
You're such a terrible liar.
I turned to see Matthew and Sam standing in front of me and Damien, and ready to attack Diana. The succubus in question, however, seemed unfazed by their attempts at intimidation. Guys.
Did she bring you here?
What? I turned my head back to Damien. I saw a serious look in his eyes. I only had seen that look before, when Diana had confronted me to show me his past, and I shook my head. No, she didn't bring me here. It was the Demon Lord.
I beg your pardon?
Are you sure?
I stared at Damien, seeing something in his eyes ignite like an angry flame that was quickly growing. His hold on me tightened as he looked at Diana.
Why did he bring her here?
I looked over at Diana, knowing that she would explain, but I was surprised to see her flinch back at his expression. Was she scared? Whoa. Shaking her head, Diana cleared her throat and looked back at Damien, settling back into her uncaring gaze.
He wanted to lure you all back, knowing that at least you, Damien, would chase after her, and the others would follow. Obviously, his plan worked.
Yup. This time it was the boys who flinched in surprise, feeling the weight of her words. However, Damien gathered himself and spoke up again.
Well, thank you for keeping her safe. We'll be...
She can't leave.
And why not?
She's been cursed by the Demon Lord. She can't leave unless she dies or until we kill him.
You plan to kill him?
We're obviously not going to choose the former. We've been fighting the Demon Lord for 10 years now. Might as well have another reason to kill him.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, he did everything else, just add this to the pile. My eyes looked at Damien, wondering what he was thinking. Diana then shrugged.
However, it will take some time to plan out our attack. We can't just walk into his castle and slit his throat.
Damien finally looked back at me, staring into my eyes as if he was trying to find some sort of response. I stared back, trying to find some hint as to what he was thinking about in his eyes. He slowly leaned forward and kissed my forehead before turning his head back to Diana.
How much time do you need?
1 week.
I shot my head towards Diana in surprise, as of the rest of occupants in the room. Seriously? 1 week?
Where is this number coming from, Succubus?
Okay, I know, we all know I have beef with Shadow, but for Damien's turn, I'm actually gonna pick Shadow as my trainer, because I want to see what he has to offer. And I think, for Diana's turn, I'm gonna pick nobody. I'm just gonna be by myself. But, Shadow, this is your chance to redeem yourself after what you did in Sam's room. The walk to the room was filled with an awkward silence. What were we supposed to do here? Damien and I were both human, and while yes, we both knew that he'd have to help in the war, he wasn't a demon anymore. I grimaced, feeling the nervousness of the situation take hold of me. This was going to be a rocky adventure. Who knew what would happen? What to expect? I don't get this. Why didn't she tell Damien, like, I had a nightmare, like, we were fighting the Demon Lord, and you fucking sacrificed yourself, but I also saw you have your demon powers, or something like that. Like, I don't get it. I want to freaking tell him. I can only guess time would tell. I gripped Damien's hand harder, letting my nerves sink in. Naturally, Damien smiled and kissed my forehead.
It's okay. Everything will be alright, I promise.
No, you're gonna sacrifice yourself! I nodded, but some part of me was still fearful despite his reassurance. We were in the demon world. Humans in the demon world. I was worried what would become of Damien now that he was on his home plane as something he wasn't born as. I looked up at Damien, seeing him focused on following the guide that led us to our room. I was curious, what was going through his mind? I was sure that he was worried when I was taken, but now that he had me back, what was he thinking now? For a moment, I briefly wished that I had mind-reading ability. I wanted to know what went through Damien's mind at everything we did, at every step we made, at every event that came along the road. Feeling the stare, Damien turned his head to look down at me, furrowing his eyebrows in confusion.
What is it?
I lightly bit my lip. Did I want to tell him that what was on my mind? What do you think about this whole situation? No, I'm gonna freaking tell him, god damn it! I had verbalized my curiosity. Damien took in my question before turning to the hall once again, frowning a bit.
I think it's a really bad situation. You're trapped here, and I'm human, so I can't do much to help in the war.
As Damien squeezed my hand, however, I felt my heart flutter a bit.
Still, I want to help and bring you back.
What?
I'll do everything I can to send us back home.
His freaking face. Damien. I naturally hugged his arm to me, causing him to gasp a bit to look over. A faint blush ran across his cheek. He was so adorable, and I absolutely love him. Whatever drew him to me made my heart feel absolutely lucky to have him. As we reached our room, I took into that the ambassador's room I had claimed the night before was an official sanction for me and Damien. The others were given rooms in another part of the castle, so we had some space to ourselves. Stepping in, I took a seat at the bed, feeling mild exhaustion sweep over me. However, Damien looked around the room in slight awe. I tilted my head, wondering why. Oh, because he never had, I'm pretty sure he didn't have a nice room like this. Damien stepped around the room, looking around and observing every piece of decor. As he got to the mantel, he looked almost stunned to see the design of the architecture of it. It was almost like watching a little kid walk into a museum. Damien? My voice caught his attention, causing Damien to jump up and look at me in surprise. As he calmed down, he rubbed the back of his neck in nervousness.
Sorry, I've never really been in a room like this before, so
Aw.
this is a bit of a surprise to me.
Really? What kind of room did you have? And don't ask stared at Damien in shock. He really never had a room like this. We were in the demon world, though. How could this be not familiar to him? I was positive that he at least had seen a room like this in his time here. Damien shook his head in reply.
I never had a room.
No! Damien! And my heart suddenly crumbled in my chest. I knew that Damien was mistreated bastard son of the demon lord, but he had no room? That was almost cruel. I couldn't imagine Damien sleeping on the cold marble floor of a grand hall or even a cell. My soul began to weep for him, but I knew that it was just better to ask him about his experiences than assuming the whole worst cases. How did you sleep then?
Well, demons don't sleep at all, actually.
That made absolutely no sense. Wait, what? They don't? Why do they have beds and stuff then? Damien blushed a bit and grimaced. God damn it. A grimace across his lips.
Well, other than having, sex. Demons rest. Like lying down and reading or something like that, but demons never close their eyes for long. It opens them up to being taken advantage of.
Oh no. Then how the heck do demons function?
With energy and food. As long as a demon has both, or at least one or the other, they can keep functioning without needing to sleep. Lying down simply lets them stop using their energy.
What about in the human world? Were you and the others pretending to sleep? Damien shook his head, driving another confused wedge into my brain. What? Demons could sleep then? But if he only wanted to? But they absolutely didn't need to, so they didn't have to? Damien laughed a bit at my confusion.
When we went to the human world, we got to experience sleep for the first time. It was so good for us, and we felt relaxed, so we kept at it, like regular humans. Besides, the risks we had here are not the same as the risks
I
in the
wouldn't imagine, like, a bunch of people coming after them, aside from Malix, but, like, I wouldn't imagine, like, they weren't on the run most of the time. There's still a lot I had to learn about demons. Apparently, not that I needed to know, but my curiosity about them grew the more I learned about them. Damien smiled and walked over to sit beside me and kiss my cheek.
I think we'll be safe to sleep, though. This is Lilith Castle, after all.
Lilith Castle? This place has a name? With a nod, Damien pointed over the mantel, tracing through the air of the markings in the workstone.
If I remember right, James told me about the first succubus, Lilith, and how she gave birth to incubi and succubi from this very castle. Diana is her descendant, so she now owns this place.
Wow. So Diana really was a princess. I was a bit surprised to confirm the fact, but in the end, it made sense. She had an attitude of one, that's for sure. She has an attitude of a queen, actually. Damien wrapped an arm around my shoulders and smiled.
At least we'll get some good sleep tonight.
Yeah. I could feel that we would be okay in our room. The castle was well fortified from what I knew, and Diana seemed to be on top and make sure everything ran smoothly, as it did the other rebel leaders. Everything was like a well-oiled machine. I leaned my head on Damien's shoulder, letting out a small sigh. I'm sorry.
Huh? For what?
I looked up at Damien, remembering that I had been gone for an entire day. I must have worried him sick and made everyone else go crazy in my absence, not only from the wedding, but from the entire human world. For going missing, I was gone for a whole day. Damien stared at me for a moment before smiling and kissing my forehead.
Were you really here a whole day?
I furrowed my eyebrows, staring up at him and trying to figure out if he was joking or being serious. Seeing my expression, Damien let out a small laugh and hugged me to his side.
To me, you were only gone for about 4 or 5 hours.
I like his little, like, happy smiling face. It's so cute. Wait, what? That can't be. There was no way that I was gone for a short period of time. I remember sleeping in this room, going through the entire day, being in this world and trying to go home to him twice. That definitely didn't add up. With a smirk, Damien released me and placed a hand on my head.
Time runs differently between the human and demon world. A whole day here is about 5 hours in the human world. You weren't gone very long.
My jaw dropped. Even time was different here? This world was full of surprises. I felt myself hold my cheek and try to take it in. How did everyone react? Damien frowned a bit and gently wrapped his arms around me, hugging me in fully to him and resting his head on mine.
We were all worried sick about you.
Damien? I could only imagine what Damien went through in those 5 hours. When I didn't arrive, what was the first thing he did? What was the first thing anyone did? I felt guilty, but I also knew that what happened was out of my hands. Damien let a small sigh and kissed my head.
When you didn't show up, we sent the girls to find you while my brothers managed to wipe everyone's memories and delay the wedding for a couple of days. We didn't know how fast it would take us to find you.
A couple of days, but we had to be here for a week. Alright, I don't know. Damien's grip tightened around me as he pulled me even closer to him.
I had to rely on my brothers to find you. There was no clue to where you were taken. So I had to sit and wait until they managed to locate you.
That's true, because he can't do anything.
Then we came.
Then you came. Lying in his arms, embrace Damien. I was stunned by the love I was given by Damien. Despite him being human, he traveled through the gates of the world to try to find me. I was lucky to have a loving man like him. My only regret was being in this world instead of at the altar with him. I wrapped my arms around Damien and pressed my forehead in his shoulder, closing my eyes and taking in his scent and love. Eventually, Damien pulled away and stared down at me with a tired smile.
We should get some rest. There's a long week ahead of us.
I nodded in agreement, knowing that exactly what he meant. We slowly crawled into bed and snuggled into each other's arms, embracing the darkness of slumber once more. As sleep welcomed me, a thought ran through my mind. What would happen? Obviously the boys would help fight in the war, but what about Damien? He was indeed human. He had no abilities to use such. That's why I was wondering, like, even in the other routes, because I'm aware that when Damien has his wife, I think they're married, right? With his wife, he's human as well, right? So what the fuck did he do? Then again, maybe he could still use magic as human. Carrie was able to do so, and she is human, but she's a witch, trained in magic. Damien's abilities came with his demon side, which he no longer had. How would he fight then? The question floated around in my mind, in my dreams, as I drifted to a calm and peaceful sleep.
Why can't I sleep?
What?
Something's wrong.
Something is indeed wrong, boy. You're in the demon world, and you won't even acknowledge your demon side.
So wait, is the demon part of Damien really not gone then?
Huh? What are you doing here?
Observing a disappointment for amusement. You keep continuing to fail at living so much that it's become a wonderful form of entertainment.
This doesn't seem like it's Diana, you know what I mean? After we've learned about her through the other routes, I really don't think this is her.
The demon who lost his powers. Doesn't that sound absolutely ridiculous? Let's replace it with the demon whose wife almost became the demon lord's next bed bitch.
What do you want?
Oh, come now, don't be so hostile. You'll wake the human up.
She and I are both human.
I cannot believe it. Is that what you still think, boy? Do you truly believe yourself to be human?
Yes. No matter how many times you taught me, I know the truth. I am human.
Well, I hate to break the delusion
Is
you
this
may
the
be
demon
under.
lord? Like, I really want to
You
know.
should know that becoming a human is impossible for a demon.
That's not true. I've been a human for over 2 years now. I don't believe you.
Then you are more of a disappointment than I imagined. God, why don't you just give up? Then again, if you gave up, then I would lose my entertainment.
That's exactly the demon lord, because you're more of a disappointment than I imagined. So, yep.
Leave.
Fine, fine, I shall. But heed my words, boy. Tomorrow will be a very rough awakening for you. I can feel it.
What the fuck? The morning rose with me stretching and yawning the sleep out of my body. I surprisingly had a peaceful night, but apparently Damien didn't, as he wasn't in bed with me. I looked to the side to see him not under the sheets with me, but standing in the fireplace staring into the flames, with bags under his eyes. Oh no! I slowly rose from the bed and covered my mouth as another yawn escaped me. Damien? At the sound of my voice, Damien looked over, eyes glazed over in exhaustion. I could tell that something had kept him up, so I slid my legs off of the bed and walked over to him, wrapping my arms around him. What's wrong? I looked up at his violet and blue eyes, trying to find an answer within them, despite it being impossible. Whatever that was keeping him up, I wanted to know and try to help him. Still, Damien remained silent. His arms, however, wrapped themselves around my form and gently pulled me against his body, leaning his forehead against mine. With a soft, tired sigh, Damien closed his eyes and gave me a small squeeze.
Did you sleep well?
I nodded, but I remained concerned. If something was wrong, I wanted to know and try to help him get over it. Still, Damien said nothing and just smiled at me.
Good. That's good.
No! Oh god, no! We gotta protect Damien. God damn it, he's just, he deserves to be happy. What the hell? What about you? I needed to know what was wrong. Something about Damien didn't seem to be okay, and I wanted to see what I could do. Damien simply stared out at me. Exhaustion plagued his eyes before shaking his head.
Nothing's wrong. At least, I don't think so.
Then why do you look so tired? Damien pressed his lips together and looked down at the space between us, almost in shame. What was he hiding?
I didn't sleep much last night. Sorry.
I furrowed my eyebrows and cupped his cheeks. He was warm, probably from sitting by the fire for a long while. Still, I was now worried for Damien. Maybe you should head back to bed and try to catch some sleep? Damien opened his mouth to speak, but was interrupted by the sound of a pounding fist at the door.
Oi! Got some food, let us in!
Oh, god damn it, Sam! You gotta let your brother sleep!
Rise and shine!
Damien and I stood at the door before holding hands and circling around the bed to sit on the edges of it. As we sat onto the mattress, Damien called down, masking his exhaustion.
Come in.
Oh no! The door opened and finally revealed the other incubi and their wives, who began to slowly file in with plates of food in their hands. Carrie and Sam, however, had 2 each and passed us the extra plates.
There you go.
Thanks, Carrie.
There you go, bro.
Thank you, Sam.
The group settled into the room, making themselves comfy wherever they were standing or sitting on the bench. As I looked down at the plates in my hand, I took note of the food of it. Jerky, cheese, fruit, and bread. Simple. I began to chow down on the fruit as James cleared his throat.
So, we need to discuss training.
You need to discuss training. We need to discuss how Damien needs to go to sleep, okay? Sam and Matthew let us simultaneously groan, obviously not in the mood to get into the conversation James wanted to start up.
Do we have to? Can't we wait until after breakfast?
As much as I would agree, we are strapped for time.
That's true.
We need to settle a plan, and soon.
We train like we used to do. Go and kick the bastard's ass, then we go home. Done.
Sam began to stuff his face, finishing saying his piece, as James pinched the bridge of his nose and letting out a sigh of irritation. Carrie grabbed Sam's shoulder and shook it slightly, making him look up at her.
As awesome as you are, I don't think that'll be enough.
Indeed. We may be 5 strong, but we'd still be going up against the man who has always been stronger than all of us combined. We need to think logically about this.
Well, not to bring up the elephant in the room, but aren't you guys kind of downy, brother? At least demon-wise?
Yeah, everyone looked over at Nora and taking in what she said. She was right. Damien was human now and he couldn't train like a demon, right? Damien looked down at his plate again and began to eat in silence. What was wrong? The others continued to chat, ignoring me and Damien.
While Damien may be human now, he can still fight.
Any human can fight, really, if you piss them off enough. I think Damien's got more of a reason to be pissed off than anyone else.
I know, but just...
Yeah, all 5 of us can kick his ass! 4 demons in a human style!
Oh, Matthew.
Well, not exactly.
At that moment, everyone turned their heads to see Diana at the door. To my surprise, her expression was very guilt-driven and regretful demeanor. Something in my gut began to churn. What did Diana mean? What did she have in mind?
Not exactly?
You're not exactly down, a brother. At least not in the sense you are insinuating.
Oh my god, I'm right, aren't I? That Damien's demon powers are not really gone? Diana stepped further into the room, placing her hands together on her stomach and looking at Damien, who simply looked back at her with tired but stern eyes.
What do you mean?
The room began to fill with a tense aura, making it clear that Diana was going to drop some sort of bombshell on us. In a fit of discomfort, Sam rolled his shoulders and practically spat on Diana.
Well, out with it.
With a heavy, low breath, Diana looked at Damien's piercing gaze, no longer able to hide what secret she was keeping.
Damien, can you read my mind right now?
Silence once again trickled in the air. I looked over at Damien, now very confused and concerned. Did he still have his mind-reading abilities? I thought she turned into a human. He wasn't Damien anymore, right? I stared as Damien kept his gaze locked on Diana, concentrating on her. Eerily slowly, his eyes began to widen with a fearful dread. Was he able to read her mind after all? Whoa! The second that became a blur as Damien bounced off the bed and charged at Diana, slamming her into the wall by the neck. What the fuck? This is like Sam all over again!
You lied to me!
Oh shit!
Damien!
Hey!
You swore that I would be human!
Oh my god. Yo, don't piss off. You know, aside from Sam, because Sam is just like angry majority of the time, but when Damien gets like really pissed, it's kind of scary, right? Like, Jesus. I instantly stood, lost in the state of shock from seeing Damien lock Diana in a fist choke hold, pressing her hard against the stone wall behind her. Naturally, Diana gripped Damien's wrist, trying to pry it off of her.
Why can't I read your thoughts?
Whoa, Desperate for air, Diana lifted her leg and kicked Damien off of her, vaulting him back and slam into Sam and Carrie. Diana buckled to the ground, coughing wildly, as Sam managed to catch Damien and keep them both upright, as Carrie held onto the bench to keep them from falling back. Damien! I instantly rushed over to Damien, pulling him from Sam's hold and wrapping an arm around him. He was shaking, and I caught sight of tears running down his cheeks, as if he was trying to disbelieve what was happening.
What did you do to him?
Diana lifted her head and grasped her neck. However, her expression wasn't one of rage, but it's still a deep regret. She knew that this would happen, and she was deserved a punishment. She expected this.
I never turned you human. I only drained you of your energy through a ritual. It was supposed to completely wipe out any need for energy, making you human. But you've never been completely transformed.
Oh no! Oh no! Damien! Damien attempted to lunge at Diana again, causing me to instantly grip onto him and keep him back. None of this made sense. If he was still a demon, then eventually he would have needed energy. Yet there was no point where he drained it from me. Oh yeah, that is true. Because obviously you're gonna get it from your partner. So yeah, of course Damien or me didn't even notice that he was still a demon. But Damien never felt like a demon. We've been practically magic-free for 2 years. That doesn't make any sense.
I've had no magic, no mind reading for 2 years. I never felt the need to feed or drain any energy the entire time. How is this possible?
You're in the demon world. This world is full of magic, strong enough to rekindle your abilities. The human world is too pure to give your body the power it needed to convert back to your demon state.
The entire situation became a parade of confusion. Damien never became human. Diana didn't fulfill her end of the deal? What was going on? Damien eventually slumped in my arms, his adrenaline completely drained as he took in the truth of what had become of him. At the same time, the situation hit me as well. Damien was still a demon, unconsciously so, but still unchanged. A part of me was relieved, while the other part of me felt incredibly sorry for him.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
Damien looked up at Diana, eyes full of tired rage. Diana stared back, flinching at the sight. I could feel the anger revolting around Damien's body as I held him close to me, which in turn almost frightened me.
You will never be sorry for anything. The Princess of Lilith is too prideful to give a damn about anyone but herself, and it's always been that way.
I could hear the venom snaking in his words as he struck them at the succubus. However, there was also deep pain and hurt. Who wouldn't be? He had been living a lie, and the reality of the truth was crashing down on him.
Was it funny? Tricking me into believing you? Oh, it must have been.
No,
because you fooled me for the past 2 years and managed to get away with my energy. You always get what you want, don't you?
God damn. Okay, this is the part where I'm gonna not defend Diana, because Diana, that was pretty bitchy, okay? What the fuck? I feel so bad for him, because this guy just wants to be happy. That's enough, Damien, don't say... Oh, shit, I don't know what to say to this. Like, in a way, I want Damien to, like, calm the fuck down, but at the same time, I feel like he has the right to, like, be pissed about this, you know what I mean? I'm gonna tell him to stop, though. He was right. This was unfair, but Diana did what the closest thing to making him human. She didn't expect him to come back to the demon world and rekindle his power, so in a way, she did give him what he wanted. Diana slowly stood and rubbed her neck, rogue tears running down her face, but her expression controlled into one cold hatred.
Well, the joke's on me, then. I returned to see my kingdom in flames and my family gruesomely slaughtered.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't get what I wanted either.
That caused silence to engulf the room. The news formed a dark pity in my stomach, forcing me to imagine such a sight and shaking out of my thoughts furiously. Damien didn't speak. Instead, he moved and sat down on the bed, his head in his hands as he curled over in his knees. I followed and wrapped my arms around him comfortably. Damien's brothers, however, took a step towards Diana.
Give Damien his energy back.
James is like, bitch, I better do it!
Impossible.
Like hell it is! If he's still a demon, he needs his energy to fight.
I've spent the last 10 years fighting the Demon Lord with both of their energies. I'm not as powerful as I was then. So I no longer have the ability to give him anything without risking my life.
Ah, shit.
Who said we gave a damn about you?
Sam, this is not the time! Sam stepped up to Diana, leaning close nose to nose with her. His anger flowed around his body, giving an intimidating warning that didn't seem to faze her.
You fucked over our brother. We don't give a shit about what happened because of your fuck-up. You're gonna fix this. Or else.
That's enough, Sam.
Eric, seemingly the only sensible one out of the group of the Incubi. Good, my husband is the only one. Grabbing onto Sam's shoulder and pulled him away from Diana. Sam gave in, still glaring at the succubus before sitting down beside his wife on the bench. I, however, became torn. What was going to happen now? Damien was a demon again, and was getting his powers back, yet Damien didn't want his powers back at all, even at the risk of being an odd brother out. The entire situation became a conglomerate mess of uncertainty and confusion that I had lowered my head and closed my eyes for a moment. Diana wiped her eyes, letting out a small sigh before she glanced around the room.
I will do what I can to fix this issue. For now, however, you can correctly assume that the 5 of you are all demons and can fight with your incubus abilities.
With a cold glare, Diana locked eyes with Sam as she spoke. Sarah, who had only just entered the room, stepped up behind Diana to add her intimidation. The power couple!
And if any of you dare step up to me and threaten me again, you will not live to see the final battle.
Shit. Sam moved to stand, sudden anger flashing through his expression, before Carrie grabbed a hold of his arm and pulled him back down to sit beside her. Diana closed her eyes and took a breath before crossing her arms and regaining her professional composure. The air was filled with anxious irritation, but we had to let it go for now. We would hash everything out at a later time, but for now, we had focused on what was going to bring me and Damien home. Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war.
Okay!
You all obviously need to train.
So like I said, I'm gonna pick Shadow for this one, so we're gonna see what happens. Hopefully, Shadow will redeem himself, or I'll still hate him, but you know. Diana nodded. Shadow seemed very intelligent in what he knew, and knew the ins and outs of being sneaky and dodgy. It would definitely help in battle not to get hit, and to maybe take enemies by surprise. With that, Diana turned on her heel and left the room.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
Everyone in the room nodded their affirmation as Diana and Setter left.
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna end the episode here, so, oh my god, I feel so bad for Damien, I don't like it. I want him to be happy, and then fucking, I should have known. I mean, I know Diana wasn't trying to be, like, a malicious bitch on purpose, because obviously she just wanted to go home, right? So it made sense that she would think of the best deal that she can come up with to get the hell out of here. So I get her point of view, but at the same time, it's just so bad for Damien all the time. I hate it. He just wants to be happy, like, what the fuck? Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this episode of Seduce Me, remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to join the companions. And if you guys would like to support me on Patreon, there's a link in the description. You get Patreon-only videos, early access to videos, the Discord server to come talk to me and other companions, and a bunch of other cool stuff. Or if you prefer to check out my art store, there's a link in the description to that as well. Oh gosh. Well, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! There we go. Fuck off, Rod. The last place I expected to find Emlyn is in the throne room. Much to my surprise, I find her standing inside alone, staring up at the throne. Maybe next time you invite 2 people over, don't start fucking one of them. Ooh, bye. Oh no! What is it?